A car that never needs to be plugged in, never waits hours at a charging station, and never relies on expensive fuel to move. A car that powers itself, redefines what we think about transportation, and comes not from Silicon Valley, Germany, or Japan, but from Africa. Yes, you heard that right. Africa, a continent often underestimated in the high-tech race, has stunned the auto industry with something so groundbreaking that many are calling it the ultimate Tesla killer. And if you think this is just hype, stay tuned, because the story behind this self-charging electric vehicle is more shocking than you could ever imagine. The global auto industry has long been a battlefield of giants.
Tesla, Mercedes, Toyota, Volkswagen. All racing to dominate the future of electric mobility.
Billions of dollars are poured into research and development, infrastructure, and marketing. The narrative has been clear for decades. The world looks to the West, or to Asia, for the latest automotive revolutions. Africa has rarely been part of that conversation, until now. So how did a breakthrough of this scale come from Africa? The journey begins with an inventor, a dream, and a challenge that seemed impossible. In a continent where power cuts are frequent, infrastructure is patchy, and resources are often limited, one would assume building something as complex as a self-powered car would be out of the question. Yet, sometimes it's exactly these limitations that ignite the greatest innovations. The man at the center of this story is not a household name like Elon Musk. He doesn't have a billion-dollar company, nor armies of engineers at his command. Instead, what he has is vision, resilience, and an unshakable belief that Africa can lead in the next big leap of technology. His work has resulted in a vehicle that challenges not just Tesla, but the entire foundation of the electric vehicle industry. To understand why this is so disruptive, let's take a step back and look at the current state of EVs. Today's electric cars, no matter how advanced, still face two massive problems: charging time and infrastructure. Even the best Teslas, with their superchargers, require drivers to stop, plug in, and wait. In countries with fewer charging stations, EV adoption slows dramatically. It's a logistical nightmare. Imagine owning a car but always worrying whether you'll find the next fuel source in time. That's not convenience, it's limitation disguised as progress. Now picture a car that eliminates that limitation entirely. No charging stations. No waiting.
No dépendancy.
This African-built self-charging EV doesn't just promise convenience, it redefines what energy independence means. And this is why the auto industry is in shock. At first, many dismissed the idea as a scam or a publicity stunt. After all, how could a car defy the conventional laws of energy consumption? How could it run without plugging in? But as more demonstrations surfaced, showing the car moving, accelerating, and sustaining itself, the questions grew louder. Could this really be the future? Or is there something the world isn't being told? This brings us to the bigger picture. The auto industry is not just about cars, it's about power, politics, and profits. If a car exists that never needs fuel or charging stations, think about the ripple effect. Gasoline companies lose billions.
Charging networks lose relevance.
Even governments lose a piece of the energy tax pie. Disruption on this scale doesn't just threaten competitors, it shakes the foundations of entire industries. Africa, the continent many once thought would only adopt technology from others, suddenly stands at the center of global attention. And for once, it's not because of its resources being extracted or its markets being exploited. It's because of innovation born within. That alone is a narrative powerful enough to shift perspectives. But the story doesn't stop there. The car itself is more than just a prototype. Engineers who have examined it closely say it's a mix of cutting-edge design, renewable energy integration, and a system of continuous energy recycling that keeps the battery alive without external input. The exact technical details remain guarded, but the results are undeniable: a functioning vehicle that drives without charging. When videos of the car first appeared online, they spread like wildfire. Social media lit up with debates. Some users were amazed, calling it the dawn of a new age. Others were skeptical, accusing it of being staged. But one thing was clear: the world was watching, and the name Africa was being spoken in the same sentence as Tesla. For many, that was shocking enough. And then came the whispers that big corporations and even governments had approached the inventor, offering deals worth millions to either buy the technology or bury it. Offers that, if accepted, could have ended the dream before it even reached the public. But to the inventor's credit, he refused. For him, this wasn't about quick money. It was about proving that Africa has the power to innovate and lead. Now imagine the courage it takes to reject such offers. When the auto industry sees something it cannot control, it often responds with resistance, suppression, or ridicule. Yet here was an African innovator saying no to all of it, determined to bring his vision to the world on his own terms. This is where the story begins to shift from being just about a car to being about a movement. A movement of innovation, self-reliance, and hope for a continent that has too often been overlooked. And it raises the big question: could this African self-charging EV truly become the Tesla killer? Could it be the spark that ignites a new era in the auto industry, an era not led by the usual players, but by Africa? The journey of this African self-charging EV cannot be told without understanding the man behind it. He wasn't born into wealth, nor did he have the privilege of top-tier engineering schools or billion-dollar research labs. His beginnings were humble, shaped by the same challenges faced by millions across the continent: limited access to resources, unstable electricity, and an economy that often discourages dreamers. Yet, in that environment, he developed something that shocked the world. From a young age, he was fascinated by machines. Radios, old car engines, anything with moving parts. He would take them apart and put them back together, often improving their function. While many kids his age were content with toys, he was busy experimenting with energy sources, trying to understand how to create power where none seemed available. His curiosity wasn't just a hobby, it became his obsession. As he grew older, this obsession led him to a single burning question: why must we depend on external sources to power our lives, our homes, and our cars? Why couldn't energy be self-sustaining? It was a question many considered naive, even foolish. But it was this very question that set him on the path to building the self-charging electric vehicle. The concept behind the car is both simple and radical. Imagine a system where energy is constantly being generated and recycled. Instead of depending on the grid or a fuel pump, the car carries within it the means to power itself indefinitely. At its core, the vehicle relies on advanced energy harvesting techniques, built into the design in ways that few have seen before. While the inventor keeps the exact details a closely guarded secret, demonstrations have proven that the car doesn't need to stop for charging, ever. For many engineers, this sounds impossible. The laws of physics, they argue, cannot be bent. Energy cannot be created out of nothing. But here's the catch: the car doesn't create energy from thin air. Instead, it captures, reuses, and amplifies energy in ways that traditional automotive engineering has ignored. Think of it as a loop, a self-sustaining cycle that keeps the car moving without plugging in. Skeptics argue it's just smoke and mirrors. Yet, every time the car is demonstrated publicly, it silences some of the critics. Viewers have seen it drive, accelerate, and cover long distances with no charging cable in sight. Even more shocking is that tests suggest the car's efficiency rivals, and in some cases surpasses, the most advanced EVs on the market today. The inventor's refusal to disclose the full technical blueprint adds to the mystery. Some say he fears his idea will be stolen by powerful corporations. Others believe he's protecting it until the right partnerships emerge.
What vers horizon, the secrecy only fuel curiosity.
Global reactions have been polarizing. In Africa, the car is a symbol of pride, proof that the continent can be more than just a consumer of Western technology. Across cities, tech enthusiasts, students, and engineers look at the vehicle as inspiration, evidence that with determination, even the boldest dreams can come true. But in the West, the story plays out differently. Established automakers dismiss it as unproven. Some analysts call it a hoax designed to attract attention. Yet, behind closed doors, industry insiders whisper about the potential threat. If the technology is real and scalable, it could destroy the business models of even the most powerful companies. Let's pause for a moment and consider why this is such a threat. Tesla, for example, has built its empire on two things: battery technology and charging infrastructure. Billions have been invested in supercharger networks across the globe. Governments have subsidized charging stations to encourage EV adoption. But if you introduce a car that never needs charging, what happens to all of that? Overnight, the infrastructure becomes obsolete. The billions invested become wasted. The very foundation of the EV movement crumbles. Oil companies would fare no better. The slow death of gasoline cars has already worried them, but at least with conventional EVs, there's still a dependency on the grid, on electricity generated from fossil fuels. A self-powered car threatens even that. If cars no longer rely on oil or the grid, the demand for fossil fuel plummets at an even faster rate. For an industry built on controlling energy distribution, this is a nightmare scenario. And then there's Elon Musk. As the face of the EV revolution, Musk has positioned Tesla as the leader in innovation. He thrives on being at the cutting edge, always one step ahead of competitors. But for the first time, a true rival might not come from Silicon Valley, but from Africa. Imagine the irony. While Musk dreams of colonizing Mars, an African innovator is transforming the way humanity moves right here on Earth. Media coverage of the car has been inconsistent. Some outlets celebrate it as a breakthrough. Others either ignore it or frame it as too good to be true. That's not surprising. The media often aligns with powerful interests, and those interests are not keen on promoting a car that could destabilize trillion-dollar industries. Yet the people can't be fooled so easily. Social media has become the battlefield where truth and skepticism clash. Videos of the car rack up millions of views. Hashtags like hashtag self-charging EV, hashtag AfricaTech, and hashtag TeslaKiller trend globally. Every time someone shares their excitement or curiosity, the story grows stronger. It becomes harder for corporations to bury it. But this also creates danger. History shows that disruptive technologies often face resistance not just in the form of skepticism, but in suppression. Innovators have been silenced, technologies bought out and shelved, and ideas erased from the public eye. Which begs the question, can this African EV survive the storm that's coming its way? What makes this story even more captivating is that the inventor isn't motivated purely by profit. In interviews, he often speaks of empowerment, of giving Africa a seat at the global table of innovation. For him, the car isn't just a machine, it's a statement. A statement that Africa will no longer be defined only by its challenges, but by its solutions. The symbolism is powerful. For decades, Africa's natural resources, oil, diamonds, cobalt, have powered industries worldwide. But the continent has rarely been seen as the source of groundbreaking technologies. This car changes that narrative. It says to the world, Africa doesn't just provide raw materials. Africa can create. Africa can lead. And it's not just talk. Investors from Europe, Asia, and America have quietly begun approaching, offering to fund production. Partnerships are being explored, though the inventor insists he will only work with those who respect the vision of keeping the technology rooted in Africa. That stance, bold as it is, adds to the authenticity of the mission. This isn't just another startup looking to cash out. It's a movement, one determined to rewrite history. Still, challenges lie ahead. Manufacturing cars at scale requires enormous infrastructure, supply chains, and logistics. Competing with giants like Tesla or Toyota isn't easy. But then again, the very fact that this car exists proves that what seems impossible can be done. And with global attention building, the momentum is undeniable. So here we are, standing at the crossroads of skepticism and belief. Is this self-charging EV the dawn of a new era? Or will it be crushed under the weight of industry resistance? The truth is unfolding in real time, and the auto industry is watching nervously. Because for the first time in decades, the most disruptive innovation in cars didn't come from Detroit, Tokyo, or Palo Alto. It came from Africa. And that fact alone has already shocked the world.